Hey, Las Vegas, thanks for joining us today on Realty Check. We are your local Las Vegas real estate news show, bringing you what's happening in real estate here in Vegas from the professionals. So today on our show, we're going to have two guests with us. We have a real estate professional and a mortgage professional. So if you guys are watching our show, please take a moment, like, comment, share, tell your friends about it, and let's get started. Walt is our first guest today. Walt, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Walt Ford, and I am with IMS Realty, which stands for International Management and Sales.
Okay.
And we're just a small private real estate firm here in Las Vegas. And I am a broker, and my business partner is also a broker. So we are a dual broker team.
That's good.
And anyway, we specialize in, it started in property management years ago, but that blossomed, of course, into sales. And so we service all of the, greater Las Vegas area.
That's awesome. And two brokers in that corporation, and you guys definitely know how to stay out of trouble, right?
Yes.
That is very good.
Or share the trouble.
Or share the trouble. Of course. So that's great. Thank you for being on the show. And we have Rocco. I've worked with Rocco before on financing, and Rocco is a mortgage professional. Rocco, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Rocco Latella. I'm with Streamline Home Loans. It's a local boutique company. I've been in the business for almost 30 years, so I like to think I know my way around financing.
Yes.
I've been in Vegas for about 22 years now, and I love it here.
Yeah, Vegas is a great place to be. The weather's nice. It gets a little hot in the summertime, but other than that, it's pretty fair when you compare it to all the other places across the country.
The key is no snow.
Exactly.
No snow. Yes, we hate the cold. Right now it's 60 and I'm dying, so.
It's comfortable.
Yeah, not for me.
When I moved here, I thought I would never be cold again, but now I get cold. Like that. When it's 55, 60, I'm still cold.
That's how I get. I think your body temperature, your blood, I think everything you get used to.
You adapt somehow.
You adapt, and all of a sudden when it's 40 degrees, you're like, oh my God. But when I lived back east, and when it was 10 degrees, it was okay.
Yeah.
But now, as I've gotten older with the cold weather, I don't want any part of it.
Yeah. As a Vegas local, like 60 degrees, I'm one of those weirdos that walk around like an Eskimo, so it's way too cold out there.
With gloves and a hat.
Oh, gloves, hat, boots,
God.
everything. Like it is, I'm not used to that weather here. I'm a Vegas girl. So we're going to open up this show talking about real estate inventory, what's going on in the market. Oh my goodness. There are single family homes. As of today, our inventory has dropped down to 2,082 single family homes on the market in Las Vegas. That's nothing. That is across all price points. That's extremely low. There are not enough houses for us to sell out there. So it's brutal for buyers right now, right?
It is. It's tough.
You guys have been experiencing that?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you were saying earlier that you have a lot of buyers that are pre-approved that just, they're struggling finding houses, right?
Yeah, I have several buyers right now that are pre-approved, pre-qualified, all ready to go. All their documents are in, and they're going out and making offer after offer after offer, and they're getting beat out by investors or cash buyers.
Cash buyers, or those people, they got $30,000, $40,000 cash to put above an appraisal, waiving the appraisals. I mean, it's really hard for a traditional buyer trying to buy their first home to get in there right now because there's not a lot, and there's a lot of competition. How are you feeling about that, Walt?
Yeah, same. I think everybody's experiencing the same thing right now. We have lots of buyers that are just waiting, in the wings for the right thing to come along. And I think we're going to get there, though. I personally think we're going to get a little increase in inventory coming up.
I do. With the rate changes, I feel like it can't stay like this. Last year, the same thing happened, in the beginning of the year, and then it started to slow down a little bit. Then it picked back up. We're just on this little roller coaster here. So
yeah,
it's definitely getting challenging. Sellers, we need you to list your houses. We need houses. We need inventory. You hear me out there? Price reductions. We had 183 this week. It's not many. Those are, again, when you see price reductions, usually it's just homes that are overpriced. It happens. That's nothing to show any type of shift. For all of you out there waiting for the big foreclosure flood to hit, there's two in Vegas. So Good luck with that.
It's not going to happen.
That's not coming our way.
No, it's not.
Yeah, there's 2 foreclosures on the market. And I'm sure everyone's jumping all over those. So on that note, KLAS just released a report that was talking about the median home price. So over 2021, it went up 23.2% from a year before. In 2020, median home price was $345,000, and in December it hit $425,000, which was up $5,000 from November.
That's huge.
So what are your thoughts on that? What do you feel like that's doing to these home buyers? I feel so bad for them.
Yeah. Well, I think that I also feel like by watching the way everything plays out, that we're going to see the increases are going to continue. I don't think they're going to continue at the same rate as they have been. But in Vegas, we always do everything double everywhere else, right? So it's like with, nationally, I don't think we're going to see the price increases, the value increases is going as rapidly as what we saw. And I kind of feel like we'll follow suit, but yet we'll probably trend a little bit higher.
Yeah. So you think the median price range is likely going to go up
Yes.
from where it's at right now?
Yeah.
So like an entry level home, I mean, where it sounds so impossible to me, but at the same time, I see it happening. Like an entry level home, a first time home is going to be $500,000,
Right.
$500,000, and I mean, a few years ago, $500,000 could get you a mansion.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, the problem is the living wage right now is so far behind what the housing prices are. And you have a lot of lower end or medium families that can't afford to buy a house.
right,
Everybody seems to be focused on rate. And that's important. You should be.
it's your payment. Yeah.
But when you're looking at buying a house, and this is the advice I give everybody, especially in a competitive market like this, if you love the house and you're happy with the payment, don't let an 1/8% in the rate stop you from pulling the trigger and buying the house. Because
Right.
you continue to sit on the fence, in another 6 months, if this continues to go up, you're going to wait yourself right out of the market.
Yeah.
And you're going to continue to rent, and those are also going up.
And let's be honest, if you're renting a house and you're paying $2,000 a month rent, and you're buying a house and your interest rate is whatever your interest rate is, and you're still paying $2,000 a month, does it matter? You're paying that. Like
You're paying
people
the same.
get focused on the rent instead of just realizing or wrapping their head around this payment. It's
Right.
what it makes more sense to own your own home, and whether that's an entry level home or not, you're paying yourself. You're not paying someone else's mortgage. So.
Right.
A lot of people are not listening to professionals like us. They're listening to their aunts, their uncles, their brothers, their cousin, the plumber, the electrician, and they're getting a lot of bad advice.
Oh, the people that bought homes during the crash are
Right.
telling them, like, you can't pay that for a house. Well, it's like, okay, well, that magical unicorn home that, is $200,000 doesn't exist.
Well,
I seen a manufactured home just listed the other day, $275,000.
Yeah.
So those,
Well, it's just important to keep history in mind. If you look at historical data, which I was just recently looking at the last 40 years, I mean, values have just gone up. I mean, we have it's like anything else. You get the highs and the dips and the high, but on an overall trend, over the last 40 years, real estate has continued to increase.
Of course.
And so it's going to continue. Now, whether we hit a peak here at some point, we will. I don't think we're going to crash, but I think we might level out.
There might be a reset. I mean, everything, like you just said, everything is cyclical.
Yeah.
Everything runs, especially on the finance side, I think as well as the real estate side, every 7, 10 to 12-year cycles. And that history constantly repeats itself.
Right.
right. But as far as with inflation, with the cost of living in general going up, everything happening, I don't see prices going backwards.
No.
Like, it's just not, I mean, that recession that we had, 2008, 9, 10, all those things, that was that was something that we probably are not going to see again. And it's so hard to make people understand that was a fluke. That wasn't supposed to.
Well, it was a perfect storm,
It
for
was
lack of a better word.
Yes, it was a perfect storm, but I just don't feel like that's something we're going to see again. And when you look back, I was watching a Mad Men, that.
Love that show.
I
Yeah.
love Mad Men, right? Based in 1950s, and there's a condo. One of the people are looking at a condo in Manhattan, and he says, it's very expensive. It's $30,000. And I'm like, Could you imagine?
Yeah.
But again, that's perspective. 1950s, I'm sure that was, the price ranges of the homes
sure.
at the time. We're not going to see that. We're not going to see prices go backwards. Over time, prices will always increase because the cost of living is going to increase.
My parents' first house in New Jersey was, I think, $36,000.
Yeah.
And when my dad passed in 2015, I think the house was sold for like $450.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's over time, the cost of going to a movie.
Yeah.
That's not going to go back either.
If you could go back, right?
Right.
I know. My parents moved us from. I was born in San Jose, and it was 1974 when they sold their house for $25,000, and it's about 1.2 million now.
It's crazy.
Same
Insane,
house.
right? Yeah. Give me a time machine.
But on one thing on that too, on the prices, I think what was the year forecast? I mean, we're so far behind in supply and demand.
Correct.
I mean, we're thinking 5 years minimum before the supply can catch up with the demand.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, real estate, essentially, it's a commodity. Everyone's going to have something, somewhere to live. So
Right.
that's not going away.
Right.
We're running out of land in the country. I mean, Nevada has a lot of land, but that's a whole nother subject. But we are, the country only has so much land, so much real estate that can be built, over time. And we're building, we're growing at a rapid rate. So it is. I just feel like values will continue to increase, even if they do have a slowdown or the market has a bit of a shift. That's always going to happen. But the essential, price isn't going to change too much.
I can see things doubling in 10 years. As
Oh my
crazy,
gosh.
as crazy as that may sound, especially if we're going to run out of land,
Yeah.
because it could happen.
It could happen. Yep. So on that note, the news, I was watching the news. I try not to, but, I have to. So I was watching the news yesterday, and they're talking about, inflation may bring another recession and just all the economics behind that. And, my thoughts on that are I don't feel like the market's going to be, shifting too much regardless of how that affects everything. And what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I agree with you on that 100%. I don't feel like we're going there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
well, inflation is what? It's at a 39-year high. We're at 8%.
And that sucks.
It does, because everything is driving up.
Yes.
The only thing that's not going up are, what the feds are controlling, what is short-term rates. I think if they play it right and they don't raise them a lot, I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah. And you think that they're going to be, I would hope that they're going to be mindful of that as well, when they're.
They said there's going to be 3 to 4 increments.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, they're going to be mindful.
I hope that they're mindful about that and they don't just throw a wrench in everything. But, that would make us trust our government to be to be good and out.
And it does. It scares people, but I think, again, if you remember history, I think I heard someone else talking about it too on another podcast, but it was talking about interest rates. And I mean, when I bought a house in Pocatello, Idaho back in '90, I think I paid 18%.
18.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My first home was 7.5%, and that was good. I just remember the lender being like, "Hey, that's awesome." And I was like, "Okay."
When I first broke into the business, interest rates were around 10 or 11%, and the trend was, and this is the funny part, we were selling 9.75% with 3 points to buy the rate down, and people were. I don't want to say killing each other, but they were literally killing each other to get that rate and to buy those points.
Yeah. And, this is one thing that I guess people don't realize. Whatever the rates are, whatever the market is, buyers want to buy homes. They will make it work.
Yes.
Regardless of what happens. I mean, you could go back 5 years ago, you could go back and tell a buyer, you're going to have to pay your own down payment and pay your closing costs, and they'd be like, no way. And now they're like, yeah, we have to. That is what it is, and people will conform to whatever the market is. At the same time, for all the people that are like, oh, I'm going to wait till the market crashes to buy a home and prices come down. What they don't remember, which maybe they weren't shopping in the market at the time or whatever. during the crash, you couldn't get loans.
No.
Like, financing was not easy to get. So all of these people that are like, I'm going to wait for that to happen again. I'm like, you don't want that to happen again. You're not going to get a mortgage.
No.
Yeah, it was you had to be extremely well qualified and have a lot of money to put down to be able to even get a mortgage during that period.
During those times, financing literally came to a halting crash.
Yeah, didn't FHA like stop for a while?
Everything was upside down.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that's nothing to wish for.
No.
Right.
And so people are like, hey, I wish for those prices, but they don't realize the whole temperature of the market that it was at the time.
Right.
So that's certainly nothing to wish for or hope for. You know, those prices would be great. I'd love to buy a lot of homes at $100,000 as well. But
Yeah.
but there's a lot more factors that go into play there.
And we're not headed into that. You can probably speak to this the best, but you know, I've heard a little bit now, oh, people are overstepping, you know, selling, taking their equity, moving up when they really shouldn't be moving up income-wise. You know, they don't have the income, and and it's going to head toward another crash, but that's not true. I mean, you're still not loaning people money that can't afford the payment.
No, we're really careful looking at the ratios, looking at all the factors to make sure that they can afford the payment and continue the payment.
Right.
Yeah.
We also want to make sure, I always make sure they have enough reserves just in case you have job loss, a fatality, anything at the house that can stop you from making a payment. You know, I always want to be mindful to tell my clients, let's make sure you have something in reserves, God forbid.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important.
Yeah, lending is still very strict. The buyers that are purchasing homes and getting mortgages now are well qualified because everything is scrutinized. You can't just, you know, slide under the radar and put the house in your dog's name. It's
Right.
that's not a thing anymore.
Checks and balances across the board.
Yeah.
So you're right, you're both right.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I feel that way as well. One of the issues that we're dealing with as realtors, I'm sure Walt, you're running into this too, is I believe it's one of the main reasons why we have such low inventory is there's a lot of sellers that would love to sell their house. They don't know where they're going to go because they'd have to substantially move up, be planning on doing a move up home or, you know, upgrading their home or what they're living in order to have it really make sense, because if not, they're going to be in a very similar home. Is that something that you're seeing a lot?
Yeah, I think that's the fear, but I don't think it's totally. I don't think it's a serious fear that they should rely on 100%.
Right.
Because you can step up and you can move up into another property, and you can not. You don't have to be, you know, buried in a loan that's costing you a whole lot more money than, as, you know, especially depending on what rate they got in at or whatever. But I think we're going to see, I think we'll see all this level out. I think we're going to have more sellers. And right now it is a little tough. You know, I work with a lot of investors too. And of course, I'm sure you're doing the same thing. We're reaching out to people. Do you want to sell? Are you ready to sell? It's time to sell. And they're hanging on, you know, oh, I want to hang on just a little bit longer. But I think it's starting to give a little bit. You know, people are starting to see, okay, well, now I could sell this investment property and I can do really well. And should I take a risk, or, you know, what should I do? And we're constantly on the hunt for that. But I'm seeing it ease up a little bit with the mindset.
Yeah. And you know what drives me crazy, just with consumers in general, is, you know, it's I'm going to wait it out. And then the second you see any type of like shift or, you know, inventory start raising, everyone wants to list at once. It's like, this is the wrong time to list right now. Like this is
impulse.
Yeah. And I see that so often. You know, back in August, we had a little bit of a slowdown for a couple months. I've seen that a lot too. Then it's just, you know, it's just like, whoa, this is the wrong time. You know, I've been telling you, the time to sell and the time to list is right now, when there's no inventory, no competition. You're gonna get top dollar. And there are things as realtors that we can work out for you, such as lease backs, you know, staying in the home for a couple months to where you have your cash, you have, you know, the ability to be able to go out and shop without having any contingencies hanging over your head. There's definitely ways we can work around in this scenario where I'm sure you do this as well, Walt. I'm never going to leave my clients homeless. We're
Right,
going
no.
to talk to them and work through their issues and decide what's the best scenario for them. I mean, there are times that I have a seller that says like, no, I'd rather just go into, temporary short-term
Right.
rental or something in between. And that's fine with me. That's fine. If that's what you're wanting to
Right.
do, that's fine. But if that's not okay, we're going to have to work out a scenario. And that might mean passing up some of the offers to make sure that we have the offer that fits what their needs are.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
this is the market to do it.
Right. It is. Yeah, and it's still strong from an investment point of view. The aspect we're buyer heavy right now. As probably a lot of
Yeah.
real estate agents are. We have some listings, but we're working with a lot of buyers, and there's good investments out there right now because, as you know, the rents have followed the values, and even in some case even more. And so there's still good investments. I mean, if you look at the Summerlin area and the condo market.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
we're working with a few of those, buying some of those right now. They're still good.
Yeah.
I mean, the cap rates are, not what they were years ago, but they're decent. If you can get a 5% cap rate, you're doing good right now, and you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And because rents are raising, people are paying almost anything for rent right now.
Right.
Yet the landlords are calling the shots. On that note, people that are out there that want to do investment properties, buy these properties and get some cash flow, get some income coming in. Rocco, tell us about this program. It's a cash flow program, debt service coverage ratio, DSCR, 70% loan to value.
DSCRs have been around for a while, and they're actually what you just said. They're debt service loans.
Okay.
They're great for investors. We don't need any income qualifiers. So you don't have to go through tax returns and W-2s and all those other things. As long as you have the right FICO score, which is at least above 700,
Okay.
and you're putting anywhere between 20 and 35% down, we can structure this loan. And as long as the rent that you're pulling in on the property services the debt, which is the mortgage payment, it's pretty much a very easy way to get qualified on these loans. So for all you investors out there and all you agents that work for investors, if your investors are cash heavy, these are the loans to get in. They can get in with decent down payments, and the rates, depending on the FICO scores, are in between 3 and 5%. And that's really not that bad.
That's
For
not
an
bad for an
investment property.
investment property.
Right.
And I mean, in all reality, it makes perfect sense. I mean, if you're putting 30% down on a $400,000 house, that's $120,000 of your own cash you're putting as a down payment. I'm sure the mortgage companies see that as, who's going to put $120,000 cash in default?
Well, even if you're going to buy an investment property and go through agency financing, which is traditional financing, Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, you still have to put 20 to 25% down.
Correct.
And then you have to go through all your financials. With the DSCR loans, you take all the financials right off the table. I hate to say it, but it's going back to the old days, it's almost like a non-income qualifier. But it's not, because the debt is servicing the loan.
Okay. So that as long as you have proof of like lease agreements or proof
Correct.
of what's going on. And again, it's a substantial percentage that you have to come in down with it, but it makes perfect sense if that's what you're
Yeah.
trying to qualify for.
The way the loan is underwritten is the appraisal is, they're going to do an appraisal. The appraiser is going to do his research on the rents.
Yes.
He's going to come up with a number on the rent. And as long as that rent is enough to cover the debt, then it's pretty much an approvable loan.
Right.
Yeah.
So for instance, say you're purchasing a home and the rent rolls are showing that that home's only producing $1,300 a month rent, but you're saying that you're going to be getting $1,600 a month rent. That appraisal where they're reviewing the rent rolls, it's not going to work out that way. It has to be able to show proof that you're able to get the amount rent that it has been getting.
Correct.
Okay, that makes perfect sense, because you can't just like make up a number and say I qualify because I'm going to charge this much rent when
Right.
it's not. That's not the average rent in the area.
Right.
And that's what they're going to go after. They're going to go after the average rent in the area. Specifically, if it's a high rise, they're going to look specifically at the HOA and look at all the average rents in that community, in that building, and that's how they're going to determine what the rent for that unit is. So as long as that rent is going to cover the debt, you're fine.
Right.
And going, now that we're getting into high rises, if you don't mind me bringing up.
No, I don't mind you bringing it up at all.
We also do condo-tel financing, which back in the day, a lot of clients, I'm sure you guys have, that wanted to buy condo-tels, they had to pay cash.
Yes.
Well, now you can come to me, and I can get you great loans at about 25 to 35% down.
Wow.
With interest rates still in the 3 to 4% range.
That's pretty good. And condo tels, just to let everybody know what those are, high rises, right?
High rises,
high
correct.
rises, basically. Owning your own hotel room.
Pretty much.
So some of them will allow short-term rentals. Some of them
Correct.
are long-term. Depends on those. And there's a lot of regulation going on right now
And
with
we can do them-
short-term rentals.
Yeah.
We can do them as owner-occupied, second home, and investment properties.
Right.
So the program that you go and the occupancy that you're going to take is going to dictate the down payment as well as the rate, but you're still going to be very, very, very competitive.
Wow, that's great. And those rates are great on investment loans.
They are.
We really, and just to give you guys a timestamp, we're in January 2022. So if you're looking at these rates in a year from now, they're probably not going to be the same.
Yeah. Well, and then
We're on YouTube, so we have to.
I know.
Yeah.
with the types of loans you're speaking about, I mean, that's the way to go all day long. I think what's Dave Ramsey says
Yes.
you should pay cash for investment properties, which I totally disagree with, because
do I.
you should turn around and buy properties all day long with stuff like this.
Other
if you're
people's
covering
money.
the debt, if
Yeah.
you're covering the debt, what you're saying, the debt service,
Well,
you should be doing it.
Yeah.
If you're an investor and you have a plethora of rental properties and you have a lot of equity in them, it makes sense to pull that equity out, buy more rental properties.
Exactly.
And
Right.
that's how it works. That's
Right.
how you build wealth, and that's how you build
Grow that
more,
portfolio.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Grow the portfolio, because over time, I mean, that I have people that I've worked with that are, like rookie investors, bought their first investment property. They have their job, they're working like a regular job. They're not, extremely wealthy people or anything like that. Just your regular working class person. Bought their first investment property and then sold that one and took the cash from that to buy a little bit bigger investment property. Like, for instance, the one of them that I'm talking about bought a fourplex, and now, it's making $3,000 a month on, just income off of that one investment property. And you have a 9-to-5 job and you're just average working class person. That's good extra income, and a couple of those can build up a retirement plan for you.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to be deep pockets and have a pocket full of cash to be an investor. It is something that average everyday people have the opportunity to do. Someone has to show them how to do it, show them the way to do it, because so many people don't understand the opportunities available for everybody.
Right.
Most of the successful entrepreneurs in real estate that I've had the pleasure of working with, just regular Joes that bought a house, didn't sell it, decided to take equity out of it, buy another house,
Exactly.
turn that into a rental, and they just repeated that.
Just kept on doing that.
And over the
instead
course of 10, 15 years, now they have a half dozen houses, if not more.
Yeah. And that's retirement all in itself. And if you're working a 9-to-5 and you have a pension too, you're going to retire nice. You're going to have a nice retirement at some point in time. You might get sick of having all these properties or whatever and sell them all off. And then you have a big chunk of money to go travel on or do whatever you want to do. So it's definitely, it's something that is so often overlooked and not often talked about, that it's, that it is an opportunity that everybody has. They just need to find out the way to do it.
Right.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
And with these, this DSCR program is, I know we're talking the city, and next week I'm going to be doing an entire show on this subject. So stay tuned for that. But the city is actually relieving some of the regulation in Clark County on Airbnb, short-term rentals.
Correct. June or July, right?
June or July, and they've passed, there's an assembly bill on it. We're going to dive really deep into that subject because it is very interesting. Is financing available for these type of properties as well, as long as you can show cash flow?
Yes.
Yes.
Specifically, if you're looking to do an Airbnb property and you can gravitate and get something on the Strip. Like, what did we bring up before? The MGM properties?
Yeah,
Yeah.
signature.
That, I mean.
Signature, yeah.
Signature. And
Yeah.
those are recently, some of the properties that I just recently turned over the last couple of months. I've done financing on a few of those units.
Yeah.
But those are the properties I think the investors want to buy, because that's the typical Airbnb property. Because when people come to Vegas, do they want to stay on XYZ Street or they want to stay on the Strip?
Yeah.
They want to stay on the Strip.
A lot of times, yeah, that is where they want to stay in. And I believe Signature has a program there where like you can even set up where they'll manage the short-term rental
Yes.
for you
Yes.
and work that out. And there's a couple of those here in Vegas that do that. They'll manage the short-term for you. They'll help book, market, do everything. Of course, there's a fee. You know, it's not for free,
Yeah.
but that is something to where it's just kind of plug and play. You purchase the property and it starts to operate.
What
is.
other properties are similar to the MGM as far as condotels on the Strip?
Veer Towers, I believe,
Okay.
I know Trump Towers will
Yes.
allow
Trump
daily
is.
rentals.
And there's one, I can't think of the name of it right now. It's right on Flamingo and Koval.
Flamingo and Cobalt.
It's
I know.
smaller.
I have a picture of it in my head. I can't think of the name of it either.
but it's also the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, they're
There's a
out
few
there.
here, and I may be misspeaking here, but I think Jewel even has
I
a
was gonna say
short-term
Jewel,
rental
yeah.
program. But they just got their overall project just got FHA approved, so that might have eliminated with the FHA approval, because now you can buy a condo in Jewel with FHA, which you couldn't do that since they've been built. This is recent, so that regulation may have changed. But I know they did have a program where they were renting it out for you for a while. They would stage it and do everything as well.
Yeah, and what's nice about those, like the Signature again, is you're right, it's a fee, and so eats away at your cash flow, but it's plug and play, like you said.
plug and play.
It's just like a hotel. If someone goes in there and they break the end table, right? They bring
They fix
another
it.
end table right back
Right.
up that's identical. So
Yeah.
I think it makes sense if you own, whether it's one rental property or a dozen. Hire a property manager. Why do you want to be bothered with all that nonsense by yourself? Most people don't have the temperament to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't even. What is the fee for a rental? Is it
And
8%,
they vary,
6%,
6,
10%?
10%. It depends. It varies. But a good property manager, and I know a good property manager. He was on the show a couple months ago, and a good property manager is going to get you more money for rent than whatever whatever you're going to look at average rents. You're going to list your home, but somebody that's in the business, just like realtors, when we list a home, where you can go off comps, but if we're every day working in the market, we know what can fly and what can't, as
Correct.
far as being sold. And the same thing with property managers. And you do a little bit of property management
I can
too,
speak
right?
to it firsthand. Yeah, I mean, we
Yeah.
manage about a 300 portfolio of
do a
about 300
lot.
properties.
That's a lot.
You do a lot of property management.
Yeah, so we have that
Yeah.
segment of our business, and just what you said. I mean, doing it, being involved in it I would never want to be an owner and do it myself.
Yeah.
I mean, you want that headache off your
Let me
back.
ask you this: if you have a problem with your car, would you fix it yourself?
Heck no.
Or would you take it to a professional?
Exactly.
It's the same thing.
Right.
And people that do things like that, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I mean, there's a fee, but at the end of the day, all of it, listing your home on with a professional realtor that knows what they're doing is going to make you more money in the end than trying to sell it oh my gosh, for sale by owners. I mean, you see them get just mowed over all the time. That it's trying to do it yourself. Saving that 6% is not going to save you money at the end of the day.
Right.
And the same thing with property management. It's not going to save you money. And you're going to get, you have these like relationships with your tenants, and then they call you, and the next thing you know, you're dealing with missing payments and calling you in the middle of the night because the AC went out, and what are you going to do? Having somebody take care of all of that in the long term is just going to make you more money. And it's really, people need to get over the fee of things, because
I
it's
agree.
not the fee. It's paying a professional to handle what they know best. You do not know best. Stay stay in your lane. You
Well,
know,
and what a lot of people don't realize, owners, when they're looking at it, is the added layer of protection. You know,
Well-
that's what we're there for. I mean, we obviously we work for the owner, but we have good relationships with our tenants. We make sure they abide by the lease and the law, but we
Yes.
also make sure the owners abide by the law.
Right.
I mean, we protect them because a lot of them don't know. They want to do things that they shouldn't be doing, and we don't allow that. You know, or we won't manage their property.
Or they don't, yeah, they simply don't know. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had a client that, you know, one time in the past, he was, you know, like doing his self-managing and taking applications, and, you know, someone had a dog, and it was a service dog. He didn't want to allow pets, and you know, he didn't know any better. He wasn't
Right.
being
He didn't know
wrong.
what a service dog was.
Yeah, well,
did,
I
he
mean, he
didn't?
knew what a service dog was, but he didn't know that that didn't apply to pet deposits.
Right.
Luckily, he found out that, you know, the person that was applying had explained to him, and he looked into it, researched it, and found out that that is correct. But so many people could make that mistake and not know any better, and then find themselves in a lawsuit
Right.
over something they didn't know about because they're not qualified in
That's
the industry.
true.
They're not
Correct.
professionals in the industry. That's not what they do every day. They're not. We wouldn't expect them to know that, but on the same point, we shouldn't expect them to be managing properties when they don't know what they're doing either.
Right. Yeah.
And you mentioned something about fees before.
Mm-hmm.
Something I always stress to people when they're going through a real estate transaction. These are the necessary evils that everybody has to pay
Yes.
to buy a house, whether it's you, or me. And I get so frustrated on the lending side when I'm referred to somebody like you guys refer your valuable clients to a guy like me, because obviously you have trust in me. When clients go searching for loans on the internet,
Oh my God.
big mistake.
Yes.
Big mistake. And this is why.
Please stop.
No, I always say, you know what? You're more than, I encourage you to go get another quote. But when you get a quote from an internet lender, you don't know where they are. We're not doing this. There's no FaceTime. Get me the loan estimate. Let me look at it. Even if you're not going to use me, let me critique it. Let me show you what you're not seeing. Because 9 out of 10 times, but Rocco, their rate is so much lower than yours. But look at what they're charging you on the bottom, what I'm not. And people don't see that. And that's how when they go to closing, that's when they crash into a wall and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
And you're buying a house and now you can't back out. You got to pay it.
Yeah.
So just be mindful.
And so many times, how many times have you just been scrolling through whatever, I don't know, just scrolling in internet world, right? And you see like 2.2 interest rate, and you're like, wow, I haven't seen those in a while. Click on it. They're misleading. There's
Yes.
so many misleading things out there. And I'll have people call me and say, well, I seen this one had 2.2. And I'm like, you know what? If you go and talk to them, get a loan estimate, get an absolute breakdown. That's not what they're advertising. That's to
Bait and
catch you.
switch.
It's a bait and switch. It's to pull you in. And do you really want to work with somebody that is getting business by that method? I think it's slimy.
Yeah.
And same thing. New construction. It's that new construction is like a thorn in my side right now, right? Because there's all these new builders outside. They have out there. They have all these great websites that are like, yeah, we have homes at 360. They have no homes at 360. They're advertising this. You find out, but you go down to their office and you find out all the things, and they're 9 months out and they have $50,000 lot fees, and there's all of this stuff. It's misleading how they're pulling people in, but yet you talk to a buyer that's calling you remotely from California, and she's like, no, I see this website. It says homes there are 360. They're
Right.
not.
It's like,
Like,
no, that's like, I'm sure you guys have seen the car advertiser, the car dealership.
Yes.
They have the car. We have this car on the lot. It's priced at yada 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 yada. You get all excited. You get in your car, drive over there. Oh, we saw that 2 days ago, but we have this, and it's double the price.
Of course, yeah. It's just, to me, it's slimy, sleazy way of pulling people in, and then getting all of our clients to where they're questioning what the professionals are telling them, and we're trying to explain. We know what we're talking about. Please listen to us.
Well, what's very important on that, as it happens all the time, is the lender ends up not being able to perform, right? For whatever reason, like the condo project's not approved, or they won't lend in that project. There's just so much that goes into what you guys
Those
do.
internet lending companies,
And that's why I think that's why it's important to talk to a professional. It's important. I feel like it's important that us as agents, we have good, that's what we practice. I mean, I want to have a good relationship with every agent in the valley and everybody I work with.
Yes.
Because if I have something listed and you bring me a buyer and I say, well, who's the lender, Trish? Well, it's XYZ lender. I might be able to say, that lender can't perform in here. You do your homework really quick, because I've had it come to this point before and then they bail. Because whatever, there's some litigation in the HOA, and it's something silly, like someone's behind on their, and then they bail out. And so it's really important that everybody has a really good rapport and everybody communicates.
Yeah.
Some of the lenders that we work with as a broker, they have some really great tools that I can utilize specifically for condos. I can go right into their website, type in either the name of the condo association, or the address, and it will tell me in seconds if it's Fannie Mae, FHA approved. It will tell me if there's any VA approved. It will tell me if there's any litigation on it. This way I can guide you and your clients and say, hey guys, you know what? We can't can't do a traditional loan, but we can go a non-traditional, do a non-warrantable. Which non-warrantable is going to cost more money down, higher rate. So at that point, we have to educate the buyer or the client and say, okay, we can do this, but it's good. We got to go this route. Or we can pull back and go find you something that's approved.
Right. And I'd rather a buyer be educated and counsel in the beginning
Then
because of that
in the
than to
middle.
drag it out 30 to 45 days and throw everyone into a big mess. And there's so many lenders out there that'll do that. It's like, are they just wishing? Are they hoping it's going? They're sitting there praying like, I hope it closes, but there's no hope.
Yeah.
Something I learned a long time ago, and I learned this from my dad, hope should never be part of your business plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do your homework, rely on the professionals. That's what we do.
Yeah, you have to know going in. A good example would be I have a buyer that wants to buy in a high rise, and they wanted a particular high rise. So I went in, and what I did is I just looked at all the recent sales in there, and every one of them was cash. And I'm like, why is they all cash?
Of course.
The first thing I did is then I call people I can count on. And I'm like, what's going on in here? Oh, there's a lawsuit. No loans in there right now.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
let's just put the kibosh on that right now. Don't even worry about it.
Do your due diligence.
Yeah.
There's so many times that I've had listed condos that are not, they're not FHA approved. I do not add that onto the listing specifically. I put in the agent remarks, not FHA approved. You can't loan FHA in this community. And I get offers that are FHA, and I'm like, what are they trying to do here?
Yeah.
Like, it's so, it's just not, people just don't pay attention. And some people act very recklessly out there.
I'm so glad that you said that. Each and every time that I have a client that wants to buy a condo, the first thing that I do when I'm talking to the agent is, before we even go the next step, send me the T-sheet. Let me read it. Let me look at it. You might have missed something. And 9 out of 10 times, it says exactly what you said. Can't do FHA, can't do this, can't do that, cash only. And that's for specific reasons.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, I do the research. If I know it's a condo, I do the research before even posting that listing. I'm not going to, try to get my sellers in a mess.
Right.
Anyways, it has been a great show. Sorry to just keep on rambling on here, but thank you guys again for coming.
Thank
Walt,
you.
people that want to reach out to you, they have questions on, real estate or property management. How do they reach you?
Well, easiest way would be my phone number, 702-600-5874. Email address is walt.imsteam@gmail.com. And then you can find me on all the socials. I'm Walt Ford. So it's a unique enough name that I got it on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere. It's just Walt Ford.
Walt Ford, that's easy to remember. So good. And you guys, if you are watching on video, you've seen all of his information there on the screen. We'll also have it posted on the website. Rocco, how do people reach you?
Easiest way to reach me is on my cell phone. It's area code 303-847-7455. If you want to try to reach me on Instagram, just look up Lone Wolf.
Lone Wolf.
Ooh, I like that.
I love it.
Loan, Lone Wolf.
Lone Wolf. Wow, you guys are both got some easy, catchy ways to find you.
You got to get out to the masses. You got to be different. You have to have, what do they call? You have to have an angle and a hook.
Yeah, something that's
Catchy.
that you can remember. Absolutely. Well, guys, I don't have any fancy name to reach me at, but if you want to get a hold of me, Trish Williams, Trish Williams at kw.com's email address. Phone number 702-308-2878, and always here on Facebook at Realty Check 702. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. If you guys are following the show, like, comment, share, download, send me feedback. Let me know what you guys want to hear, what topics you want to talk about. Next week, we're going to be diving really deep into these Airbnbs and short-term rentals and legislation regarding that. So that's going to be an interesting topic. You'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. And we are also going to start highlighting people in the local Las Vegas community. We're a hyper-local show, hyper-local team, hyper-local with everything here. Because I'm a Vegas girl, we're going to start highlighting people that are just doing great things here in Vegas. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you next week.